How is everybody today? So good to see you guys. Have a seat. I welcome you online, wherever you're at in this city, this state, this country, or this world. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to have a conversation, a very real conversation about kind of where we are as a nation. In case you haven't noticed, our country could potentially be as divided as it has ever been. There's a lot of chaos going on. And in some ways, it's been created by what you could call a perfect storm. But I like what T.D. Jakes said. I've been watching more news than I ever thought I would as a human being and trying to get different perspectives on a lot of things. But T.D. Jakes says this about the current kind of atmosphere of what's going on in our nation. He said it's kind of like being in a bad marriage. You so bad just want to coexist and not have any fights that you have a lot of issues on both sides of the marriage, but you're just not talking about them. And so when enough pressure happens or you bump into each other, then it causes a fight. And so inside of our country, there is a real racial issue. There's a real sin issue. There's very much just a lot of real issues, and for the most part, we're not willing to have what I would call is a real conversation. We talk at it, we talk around it, but we're really guarded in how we communicate it. And so I'm going to start by reading from the book of James, trying to give us a starting point, and then I'll go back and sit down and introduce these gentlemen that are on the platform with me today, and then they will introduce their families to you as they come up on the screen, and then we're going to jump into some things. So James 4, I'm going to read verses 1 through 12. I know that's a lot, but it kind of gives us an encompassing picture of where we are in the world today. What causes quarrels and fights among you? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? You desire and do not have, so you murder. You can translate that word murder to hate. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly. You spend it on your passions. You adulterous people, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Or do you suppose it is to no purpose that the scriptures say, he yearns jealously over the Spirit that he has made to dwell in us? But he gives us more grace. Therefore, it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded people. Be wretched and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Do not speak evil against one another as brothers and sisters. The one who speaks against a brother or sister or judges his brother or sister speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is only one lawgiver and judge, he who is able to save and to destroy. But who are you? Everybody say me. Online, everybody say me. But who are you to judge your neighbor? So what we're not going to have here today is judgment, if I could put it that way. So here's what I mean by that. I have so humbly asked some friends of mine. I just prayed and I thought, I could call in Pastor Derek. I could call in so-and-so. I could call in so-and-so. And so the last time that we addressed racism from this platform, one of the not pushbacks, but one of the things that we got was like, okay, you brought Pastor D, and you're both pastors of churches. You kind of have the same philosophy. You're almost, even though you're of different shades, you're almost the same person. If you've ever heard Pastor D speak here, we are kind of the same person. So they're like, you may want to have some different perspectives. And so I was just praying. I was like, God, and this was like Friday. So these guys are like brand new to this. They got text yesterday, wasn't it? They texted on Friday. Did I text you on Friday? You got it Saturday, yeah. I was a little late on Devon. Like, hey man, let's go. Okay, so it's like, and then like these names came to mind. I thought, okay, I'll ask this guy, because all these guys are different backgrounds. They were raised different in different parts of the country. They've all moved here. They're all a part of this family, but they're going to come from a different perspective. So here's my ask, whether you're online or whether you're here in the auditorium. you're going to, as we have this conversation, your expectation of the conversation is probably not going to be completely fulfilled, meaning we may not get to an issue or one of the nuances of the overarching issue that you wished we would have gotten to, because we have us five have about 40 minutes to solve this problem. So we're going to do the best we can. But I in no way think we're going to solve it. My goal is kind of three-strand. I want to begin a legit conversation, and I want that conversation to continue. I also want to exalt the name of Jesus because I do believe he's the answer. I really do. I'm not just saying that. I know it's super cliche, but Jesus is the answer. And all of us together agree with that. And we also agree on this point that the church is the answer. The church of Jesus is the answer because this really is the man, God, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. I know Jesus told us to pray that way, but where you experience heaven should be in the church. We're probably, here's the sad truth, we're probably not going to do away with racism in the world. It's been around forever. If you just read the Old Testament, that's what the war was over. You come now, that's what the battles are over. So I think we shouldn't have a goal that's not attainable, but I do think this. We can experience a place on earth where it's like heaven, where everybody of different colors, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic places can come and exist together. And I don't care what your struggle is, what you did last night, again, what your skin color is, what your sexual preference is. It doesn't matter, but you can come here. Now listen, let's clarify that. I'm not saying the church nationwide because the church has gotten this as wrong as the world is getting this. All we can do is speak for here as the shepherd of this house. To say that that's the place we will be, that people can come, take a deep breath when they hit the door and know that they're in God's house where they're accepted. We want to know you. We want to know that you are needed. We want to walk with you. And to some extent, we just want to understand. So here's what that means. Will I always understand his position? No, but I can empathize with it. I can get outside of myself, humble myself, and go, okay, help me understand. So we spent yesterday around my lunch table. I bribed them. I cooked them hamburgers and said, hey, y'all come over. Because I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm white. I know it's hard to believe, but truly, because sometimes, so anyway. And I was raised in the South, and I was in the military, and I was a police officer. So if I try to by myself, I'm emotionally intelligent enough to know that my view has to be skewed in some way. Has to be. So I thought, well, what I can do is get brothers that I love, that we do life together here, some in a very short time, because he moved here 2 weeks ago and I called him. How awesome is that? You just came to church 2 weeks ago. No, you're clapping. He's not clapping. He's like, no. I got a text by the pastor 2 weeks in. I went, oh, God, what did I do? So we can all do life together and have a conversation. But as the shepherd of his house, this is ultimately what I'm asking. When something is said you don't agree with, when we don't hit an issue that you wish we would have hit, or if you're offended, email me. Not them. Because the views that they're going to give and what they're going to say is already going to cost them something. These men are going to say things that the people that they potentially have been doing life with a long time are going to call them into question for. We have a Decatur policeman up here who's going to say some things that potentially people in his department could then push him out and go, okay, he can't be trusted. Or Darius is going to say something and his peers are going to say, okay, he can't be trusted because he's not really with us, and he's not really with us. And who we want to be with, all of us up here, all five of us, who we want to be with, who we want to be found faithful to at the end of the day is Jesus, his kingdom, and the family of faith. So So if you have, listen, as humble as I know how, and as much of a protector as I am, because I love these dudes, and I'm so thankful that each and every one of them are willing to be up here and be honest. Please, for the love of all that's good, don't Facebook message them, don't Instagram message them. If you have an issue, please email me, and I will do the best I can to help you understand. Okay? But that's because I love them and I love you guys. So I'm going to introduce them. They're going to introduce their family, get to know them a little bit. So I don't know if we did this first service, but when I introduce you, tell them where you're from, how long you've been here, and then when your picture comes up, introduce your wife. And some of you have like 27 kids, so we'll be here a while. So first on my right is Jermaine. Y'all give it up for Jermaine, far right.
Well, hello. I've been here since January 19th, working on a year. I'm trying to get there. This is my beautiful wife, Tiffany. This is my boy, Travion. He's 12. Then Jaslyn is 8. Genesis is 6. That smile, man, I tell you. And then Amira is 10.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
This is Darius, not Darius, which I think I called you like that 3 times last service. I apologize. So I'm probably gonna call you D. Okay, so this is Darius.
Of course, I'm Darius Moore. I've been in Decatur a little over 10 years. This is my beautiful family. This is my daughter, Carrie, that is 7. I bushed her age the first service. Yeah, I said 8. But she's about to be 8. She's 7, about to be 8. My son, Caleb, he's 14. And my beautiful wife, which would be 10 years, we'll be married in October. That's Andrique.
All right, this is, to my left is Devon.
Yes. So, before I begin introducing my big family, I would like to say is that in the Bible, God said, be fruitful and multiply, right? So that's what I was just doing. That's what I was doing. but I've been here for 2 weeks now, and I'm loving Alabama and the weather, so I'm glad to be here. But let's get started. This is not an updated picture, just so you know. But my oldest is Jordan. He's 14. He's holding our 3-year-old now. Her name is River. Down to the bottom, we have Milo. He is 5 years old. Up from him is Brooklyn. He's 9 years old. And then we have Winter, who's 7. And my beautiful wife, Rachel, which we've been married for 10 years in July. And that is my new addition baby, Ryder, who's going to be 1 in July. So, yes.
Good job, man.
I got it.
Yeah. We can't grow the church from outside in, we'll grow from inside out, but just keep doing it. All right, to my far left is Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel.
Daniel Clemens. I've been going to Epic for about 3 years. It's my beautiful wife, Mia, my son, Jackson, who's 4. And I told them last service it's a lot easier to remember ages when you only have one.
So going to have different perspectives. Jermaine, you're originally from Texas, right? Originally from Texas.
Yes.
Originally from Huntsville, Madison. Originally from Brooklyn, right? And then, are you originally from here? From Arab. Arab? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Originally from Arab, also a Decatur police in our great city. So, lots of perspectives. And so we're going to start where most people are afraid to start. We like a lot of statistics, we like a lot of facts, but we sometimes blow by the reality of feelings and where people are. And truthfully, the reality that legitimately exists. And what you need to be comfortable with in this conversation from everybody, when I say this, I'm not talking about your truth is true to you, and my truth is true to me, and his to him. That's not what I'm talking about. However, in the world, there can be 2, maybe 3 truths that simultaneously exist. Like, you got to understand that. It's not about my opinion, it's about this is the truth. So, is it true that racism exists? Yes. Is it true that there are police officers who are legit bad apples in a much larger scale? Yes. Is it true that as people protest, there are bad apples on that side that are giving other people a bad name? Yes. So there can be 2 or 3 truths that exist, and we have to be comfortable with that, especially as we have this conversation. And so we're going to start with feeling. I'm going to start with Jermaine. And the question is, and then we'll go from Jermaine to Daniel, then Darius, and then Devin. How do you feel about the incident that happened with George Floyd? And so there's a lot of incidents. Let me just say, a lot of incidents. This is not something brand new. This is not something that hasn't happened for year upon year upon year. It's just this particular incident was so public, and the truth is, what happened, you cannot hide behind it. It was blatant, and it was wrong, and it was vile. So how do you feel about the incident with George Floyd and about the current culture, atmosphere, attitude in our nation, like what's happening with all the turmoil? Go.
Feelings. First thought, angry, frustrated. Angry that it's still going on, you know. Angry that that nobody did anything. You know, we talked, you know, last service, but could there have been anything, you know, to divert his attention away from what was going on? Could there have been anything to do to stop him from holding him down? He couldn't breathe. He made that perfectly clear that he could not breathe, cried for help. Is there anything that we could have done? I mean, sitting here where we're at, you know, of course it's easy to, oh, I would have done this, or I would have done that. But what could we do? What can I do? So I guess that's why I say angry and frustrated, because I feel that my hands are tied. I can't do anything. So that's why I'm standing, or I'm rather sitting, but I'm up here today to, in a sense, do my part, to do whatever Jermaine can do to try to start the change. My personal opinion, that is one thing that people fear, change, whether it's good or bad, because you don't know. So for me, fear, afraid, you know, to stand up, you know. Stand up, stick up for him. You know, if you're there to video, you could nudge him, throw a bottle at him, kick at him, something, you know, but that's what I feel.
Okay. Daniel?
So as a police officer watching the video, man, a lot like he was saying, I felt so angry, like how somebody who is called to protect the lives of the citizens that he serves can just sit there on top of another human being, listening to the pleas of him trying to breathe and trying to, like, just pick him up, just put him in your car and be done with it. That's all you have to do. Like, I don't understand how it got to that point that you're sitting on someone for nearly 9 minutes. There's no, like, he's already been handcuffed. There's no reason why it should have went on as long as it did. And I'm frustrated, and with the whole rioting situation, like, 2 wrongs never makes a right. And, you know, the police officers that are out there having to protect against the rioting and stuff, like, they wasn't the one that did that. Like, they're trying to get home to their families too. And so just everything that's going on, it's disheartening that you could watch him do that to another human being, like, just human to human. It doesn't have to be black, white, like, this is another human being that you're taking his life. Like, I just don't understand it.
Thank you. Darius?
I got numb. I've been numb for years, being a black guy, just being numb to the police killing us unarmed black men. Just being numb to it, because I'm like, it ain't gonna stop. So just try to protect my home. Just, I've always said that, you know, I always went by two things, just grace and mercy. Regardless of what I see out there in the world, it's like, God, you, grace and mercy cover me and my son. But the most difficult thing I can share right now to watching that video was to even go back to school, social studies, history. Like, it reminded me of the KKK just hanging us. So to watch that, like I've shared, my mother passed away when I was 15 from cancer. To hear him plead out, you know, call for his mom, like, I woke up then. I never been woke. I've been woke to the issues that are going on, but I've just been numb, just been pressed about it. But it woke me up because it hit me. It hit me in a way to where, like, he was calling for his deceased mom. Just being black is hard. I feel like we don't have the same privileges as you guys. But I don't look at you no different. I don't think you're a bad individual. I don't think you're a bad person. Just teach me and my son just to go work hard. You can be whoever you want, get whatever you want, you know. But that's society. That's what we go through. You know, it's a blessing. It's I work every day, but it's a blessing to come home and you're not on the news.
Yeah.
It's a blessing to come home and your son come from basketball practice, or you see him, you see your daughter, you see your wife, like, but everybody isn't privileged of my race to get that. Mm-hmm. So it's hurtful. This hurts bad.
Stay right there, because I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna ask you a question about a word. So if I forget, just punch me in the shoulder and I'll remember. So serious, like, hey, you were gonna ask me something. Because I want to ask Devon his perspective, his feeling, but I want to come back to something you said. So Devon, same question from where you are and your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, just, you know, recently just watching the video, just to seeing everything that was going on with the whole situation, the only type of feeling I have is, you know, to myself, is just saying why. You know, why did it happen? Why did it occur? Obviously, you know, when you look at the media, they don't show you both sides of the story. You only get what they want to show you. So we really can't make any judgments or make any calls as far as like what the whole picture, what the whole situation would be, because nobody really knows. And to make those judgments based off past experiences or feelings, you know, it's people just, mindset is already preset. You know, they just see an officer detaining another black guy. So people mindset is already said, oh, this is not going to look right. But we don't know. I mean, we don't know what to expect, what's going to happen next. But I think just with everything that's going on with the protests and it's just that we got to understand why people are out there. Are they out there for the good reasons? Is there other things that's bringing them out there? Or do they just want to, are they out there to voice their opinions? We just don't know. We can't speak about everything that's going on in this world. We can't understand everything that people are thinking. But there's one person that does understand what everybody's going through. And we just have to hope and pray that, you know, the truth just comes out, lives are changed for the better. You know, growing up in the North, I mean, it's definitely totally different from what I'm seeing down here in the South. So, and I can honestly say that, you know, just from my past experiences, regardless of what your skin color was, everybody was being treated the same, as far as like how they was, as far as like interactions with police officers. Sure. It was nothing regardless of your skin color, with, you know, what may happen to that person. Everybody was treated the same. So his mentality is just very different from where you, I guess, where you come from, where you live, you know, how you was raised. but you can't just take those things and just transfer it and just think that everybody's the same, because everybody's not the same. You know, God created us all of us to be different. You know, if He wanted us to all be the same, we all look the same, it would be a black and white picture, really. And, you know, God didn't create us to be that way. He wanted us to see color, you know, the beautiful colors that He created. So, you know, we just have to, you know, take this mindset of everything that's going on and just throw it out the window and just really just listen to the one and only, and really just feel in your heart what He's saying. And if you don't know, you know, if you don't know much about God, then pair it with somebody that does know, you know, and just, you know, hear people out. I guess people just need to just take that time and just listen. Stop reacting to the first thing that you see and just take things easy. So I think that's what we need to do.
Okay. So as you can tell, because I'm going to try to be the interview guy. I'm going to try to be the not in it, but just ask questions. So you can see 4 very different perspectives. And so you can imagine the difficulty that if we're going to have a conversation, it's 4 of us up here, and everybody views it so differently, and now we're supposed to come to some kind of common ground where we can actually make headway. So I hope what you're beginning to see is the complexity of this conversation. Would you agree with that? And so you gotta try to find some kind of common ground, which is why I think Jesus, the church, kingdom perspective is so important in it. But you can't squish other people's opinions and go right to that. You gotta know where how do you feel? What do you see? Where are we beginning the conversation? And so Dara said something. He said, we're not as privileged as you are. And so here's what happens when anybody uses that word. Again, I told you, we're just going to have the conversation. There are sections of people all across the board. There will be black people who go, hey, don't put me in that box, bro. Don't tell me that I can't. There'll be white people that will be offended by that and go, oh, no, you don't understand because you've never been white. I'm not privileged. Like, we'll take that word and we will argue over it and gain 0 ground because everybody's got a perspective on it. So we didn't do this first service, but doggone, let's go. Tell me how you feel and see the term white privilege. We'll just start down there.
Oh.
My bad.
That was good. Just the first thing that comes to my mind, man, and the reason why I would even speak on this topic is because, okay. I'm supposed to look at Benay, but I'm sorry. The reason why I would speak on this topic is because it's happened to me a few times back home. Me and the same individual, not necessarily the same, but same qualifications. I can do this job just like he can, but I felt that he got the job because he was a white guy. You know, the job, was basically white. We had a couple black guys that worked there, but I was told before, hey, look, man, you're not gonna get that job, man. Man, you ain't one of them. Whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. I didn't get the job, so immediately I started, that's where my mind went. I didn't get the job, I felt that I didn't get that job, or I didn't get that opportunity, I didn't get that privilege because I wasn't the same color as he was. Yet I could do the job just like he can. I can stay late just like he would. I can do all the things that he could do. Why didn't I qualify for that job? But when I asked, sir, can I ask why I didn't get this opportunity or this? Well, you don't meet the qualifications. To who? On paper it says, you told me that I meet these qualifications, so why didn't I get that opportunity? So for me, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But yeah.
I'm just going to go right here. I'm just going to go this way. So,
It's pretty much the same thing, actually, he said as well. It's easy to me as a black man to speak that and actually been taught that. It's easy for me to been taught that generation, and I just get up here and say it just because I've been taught that, and that's what I see. But it's a difference of what I see and what I experienced. So it's just like him on the job, to where that's probably the most where it happens is on the job.
Okay.
But as a black man, I can stand on my own 2 feet and say, even though it happens, I still don't receive it, because I still can be that or above that. So it's almost like I didn't get it. They're treating me better. They put me on this machine. Those are things that I've seen. So it's like, oh, it's cool. I ain't gonna be here long. Yeah, I'm gonna get up out of here. But that's me saying, and with that being said, that's me knowing that I wanted to open my own business, open my own lawn care business, work for myself, be my own boss, and that's what my plan was. That's what all my plan. That was what I've learned. That was my purpose that God allowed me to tap in. So it's just with it. It's almost like the job thing, where you see it at, but it's like, that's cool. Like, that's cool. Like, I receive it, but I don't receive it. I receive it because I'm working for
So
you.
you perceive it as a reality,
Right.
but I'm not necessarily using it as an excuse. Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
Right.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah,
I really don't.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because if I actually accept it, it'll just almost bog me down, and I wouldn't be able to function. Maybe say something out of the way, get fired, or it's almost like, okay, that's fine, and then it's still going on. This is true.
Okay. All right, so it's been, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like maybe a different direction. So it's on the job place, definitely on the job place. So we're talking about white privilege. From your perspective, how do you feel about it? Does it exist anywhere other than work environments?
I mean, I think when it comes to work environments, and as far as like, I just see it as, from my viewpoint, maybe it's a time and place for everything. If the way I see it as, if me and another person is going for the same position, I'm black, he's white, or whatever the case may be. If I didn't get the position, I'm not going to say, oh, it's because I'm black I didn't get the position. Maybe God didn't want me to have that position at that moment. Maybe it was something else that he wanted me to have. And so he's telling me, yeah, you didn't get this position because I have something else for you. So so the privilege may be, yes, I didn't get it at this moment, but what I have for you later, it may be better. So, I don't see that, black or white have different, and I don't see us thing as far as like just being race itself.
Okay.
It's a time and purpose for everything, and I think it's just that you just got to wait for your time. You got to be patient. If something didn't happen the way, when you want it to happen, it was for a good cause. So you got to just put yourself in those type of positions or predicaments as far as like those type of situations. So I mean, that's, like I said, that's how I personally feel when it comes to like judgments or decision making. Always, the first thing that comes to mind is like, well, maybe God didn't want that for me right now. Maybe he knows something. Well, he does know something I don't know. So,
Maybe God knows. I don't know.
No. So yeah, definitely just, I just go with what the Holy Spirit is telling me. I don't jump to a conclusion. I just keep a clean mind as far as like everything that goes on around me. And that's how I feel, yeah.
So we're going to ask the white guy about white privilege.
Yeah, thanks. But honestly, if you say that it doesn't exist to some extent, I believe that you're lying to yourself. Like, I do believe that to some extent, yes, it does exist. I believe that if you have two people who have the same exact qualifications for a job, one's white, one's black, and you have a white person that's hiring, he's probably going to pick the white guy. Vice versa, if it was a black boss or whatnot, he'd probably go with the black person. I think that we don't like change, and so we want to go with what's comfortable for us. And so, like, if I'm a white guy and I've got two people that I'm trying to choose from that have the same exact qualifications, then I'm not going to go outside of my comfort zone and get the black person that I can't connect with, that I might have to work harder to connect with. I'm going to pick the person that we may have stuff in common and stuff like that. And so I think, does it exist to a certain extent? I would say yes. Do black people have to work harder to be successful? Yes, but I do believe, I know plenty of black successful men, and so yeah, they can be successful, but I think they do have to work a little bit harder.
Can't get much stickier than it is now. So continuing to speak to the racial elephant in the nation and white privilege and all of those things and the tension all of that creates. So kind of to draw everybody back to the place, like, see, if you don't get in a room and have this conversation, then I always make an assumption about Jermaine. Really has nothing to do with his skin color. It's just how we've been programmed. We fail to understand how much, when the news media focuses on bad apples in every hole, because news media is a big company, they have to make money, and in order for you to make money, you have to be connected to an agenda, and I'm trying to entertain, and what's more entertaining than drama and chaos? And so what do? They're not going to show on the news. There will some, but you got to go dig. If we're not going to show on the news that a group of African American guys blocked off evil people from destroying a store that a white person owned, they're not going to show that. You know why? Because the truth is, we want to see chaos. Which is why if you try to fix this issue outside of this environment, if you go to the world and the world's tools and their strategies and structures, then it's only going to get worse. But look, if you don't sit around a table, you don't get in a room, and you don't have a conversation and go, man, D, just tell me, why do you think I'm more privileged than you? Because every white person not on the planet, most white people can't even see that. I don't know if it's they refuse to or they don't want to. Like, it's like, hey, I caught you, and so it wasn't me. I don't know if it's that. I really don't know, because I'm where Daniel is. If you say white privilege does not exist because it makes you feel better, then the Bible's pretty adamant about, hey man, don't be deceiving yourself, because that's a bad place to be. As long as I do that, we can't have a conversation, we can't grow, and so just so y'all know, none of this is scripted. They didn't know any of these questions were coming. But this is what it means to do life together and go, okay man, I don't understand. And I'm not saying that I'll agree with you, but how does this work? How do we get past this? So, in the communities that are represented, so up here you have the black community, you have the white community, and you have the police community, which right now are the top three communities at odds with each other. Would everybody agree with that? To some degree, okay? Now listen, outside of that's Hispanic and Asian, it's all across the board, but for today's conversation, the black community, white community, police community. From your perspective, your feeling, I'm obviously not asking you to speak for everybody, but from you, outside looking in, what, you said this first service, so I'll use this word so everybody can understand where we're going. What attitudes, what behaviors do you feel like those communities I named keep doing that perpetuates this problem? Police are doing certain things that's not helping. Whites are doing certain things that's not helping. Blacks are doing certain things that's not helping. What do you see those problems being? And how would you communicate, since we have the platform, to begin to even fix those issues? So I'll start on my far right.
I just like first service, man. I would start with attitude. How you would even begin to approach the situation. Does the hate that you have for law enforcement come from you? Does it really come from you? Or does it come from your cousin that was running the streets and doing God knows what, you know, who hated cops. So is that where you got the hate from? Or is it really yours? Because as for me, I'm not gonna let you get behind me and push me off a cliff. I'm not going. It's just not gonna happen, you know, but I'd rather stand on my own too. Make my own decision and decide if I like this man because of the man, not because of the badge that he wears. Not, I really believe that, first and foremost, I really think that it's gonna be a process. It's not something, well, they ain't changed it in 100 years. It's not just gonna happen overnight, like you said. But what could I do? What could we do? Maybe come together, stick together. Like you know, we were talking earlier in the back, you know, why take just that energy, you know, and channel and come together and riot and loot and do all these things? Let's put forth the effort to really make a genuine change in ourselves first. Now they have to see it. Oh man, they don't do the things they used to do. You know, now they're not so violent, so quick to be aggressive. Make a change within first. That's what I would do.
I shared first service about the incident I had. Really go into it because I'll be long-winded again. But
See, mister, you should have been a preacher. You talk forever.
But the incident I shared first service about my incident with Decatur police. I won't go back in all the way into it, but I have the fear and the anxiety when they get behind me. But to have lunch with these gentlemen, pastors, Pastor Benet, at their home yesterday, and to meet Daniel, to know he was a cop, police, I didn't judge him one bit, but it's the bad ones, the bad apples out there that make him look bad. So to fast forward into how could my community fix it, I explained last service, I have fear and anxiety when I see him. If I see him, I whip off. If I see him, I duck and just go. So I'm sitting over there while Pastor Justin is singing, and boy, I love him to death. He just do something to me. But I'm asking God, because we all talked outside, and I said, God, what can I do about this fear that I have so I don't translate the same fear to my son, so I don't translate the same fear to my family members, church members, whatever the case may be. What can I do to get rid of this fear and anxiety so I won't feel the way I feel when I see him? And God told me over there, just ask me, I'll remove it. It's awesome. So I said, God, remove the fear. I don't want to feel like that from this day forward. And he told me, he said, D, I chose you through Pastor IV to come up here and speak. You have a platform not to speak to you guys, but to your race, to all these races. And he said, you get up there this service and you make a change. And he said, I make a change with you.
It's getting real up here, guys. It's getting real. Whoa. I'm trying to keep it together right now. But man, just everything that's going on in different communities. I mean, me personally, I spent most of my life in good areas where it wasn't a lot of black people, but I don't see that. But just the community I lived in, it was just that I just come to realize that you can't walk in fear, because if you live your life in fear, you're not living your life at all. So I learned to, I just learned to love everyone, regardless of what their background is, where they came from. I'm a friendly person. You know, you come up to me, I'm gonna talk to you back. I'm not gonna give you a cold shoulder. And, you know, sometimes if you don't get that same reaction from the person that you're trying to meet or introduce yourself to, you can't worry about what that person may think or how they feel, because you can't change everyone. But just, you know, the areas that I used to live in, it was just, just very humble. I don't think I had any type of issues. Majority of the time, I never had any issues with anybody. I think majority of the time, because I always kept to myself. I'm not a person that just that expresses feelings.
Sure.
I'm usually keeping everything bottled up and just observing everything that goes on around me, because I'm that type of individual that likes to see things from a different perspective before I'm quick to react or say anything. I mean, you can, like I was telling you the other day, yesterday, me and my wife, we can argue, but it's not me arguing, it's really her. But I just keep quiet, I don't say too much because I don't like conversation. But even with things like that in that type of setting, it's just like, you gotta know what's right, what's wrong too. You gotta also admit when you're wrong. But if you see wrong, you gotta also stand up and say something about it as well. Not just let it by, because by not doing anything at all, you're just hurting the situation. So when you see things that happens, regardless of what neighborhood somebody lives in, if they're not doing anything about it, you can't really complain or say anything.
Right.
If you're not gonna stand up and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong, you shouldn't be doing that, but what are you doing on the other hand? So you gotta get people to get up and talk, voice your opinion. There's a saying in New York City where, and this goes for people that ride the metro, it says, if you see something, you say something.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna know, nobody's gonna know what's happening if you don't say nothing. Because they're just gonna hear one side. We wanna hear every different aspect, every point of view. It's good to hear everything that's being said. I mean, sometimes you don't wanna hear everything, because you can't really point out what the truth or what's the lie, what's facts, what's just your opinion. But it's good to just observe those type of things and just kind of get a general idea. But it's just, people just need to be more open, not just caged in and have their mind preset to just based on what they believe is right or what is wrong. Because in reality, none of us is always right.
Right.
So people just gotta sit back, relax, take a chill pill once in a while, So, but yeah, that's just the way I feel about things in a whole. I mean, when it comes to the police community, I had my few encounters, nothing bad. It was just simple things, but if you just take your mind out as far as like what's going to happen and not have that fear in your heart, like, oh, okay, this is my time, that's it. What can I do about it? You can't live your life like that.
Right.
Just take it easy, relax, breathe. Me personally, if I do get stopped, or if those times, the first thing that comes to mind is saying, Jesus, you're here with me. If anything does happen, I know I'm gonna be with you soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so this will segue into Daniel speaking whatever he thinks needs to change in the police community. There should, listen, I was a police officer, and I don't get like terribly nervous, but my wife sweats profusely when the cops get behind her. And I'm like, you got a warrant for your arrest? What is wrong with you? Like, why are you so freaking out? But listen, the truth is, authority gets behind you in any way, shape, or form. Everybody to some degree gets nervous, and I understand that. However, should never fear that your life is going to end if you move wrong. Like, that just shouldn't be a thing. So that does, like, we've got to figure out how to make that different. So I'm not closing because we're going to take a few more minutes, if everybody's cool with that. But, like, legitimately, before I address Daniel, thank you for being honest. I honor you for just taking the platform and, like, being you and not caring but not caring. Thank you for willing to be emotional. I think too many people try to hold that back. And I say this all the time. Well, I'll probably say it because I cry every Sunday, but I think real men cry. It makes me feel better. Okay, so, but really, like, that's because that's a real thing. That means it's a deep heartstring. And I know what you two shared could potentially cause you to have conversations outside of here that could be uncomfortable. So the courage you displayed today, thank you very much, like, really. And Devon, the same thing, like, you know, I'm choosing this stance and I'm a black man, but I'm like, this is the deal, and I don't really get involved. And I'm not like, there could potentially be people that's like, well, then you don't really care, you know what I'm saying? And so I know that takes courage to just be yourself. So really, thank you, like, from the bottom of my heart, just willing to be you and say it on the real, and being willing to deal with whatever conversations happen outside of this platform. Like, seriously, man.
I'm ready for it. Definitely ready for it.
I believe that. And then Daniel, thank you for honest. I don't necessarily think you're the one up here who has the highest costs, but coming from the police world, where it very much is, we're our own tribe, it's us against them, and we got to stay unified. Couple of things. I want to say thank you for being a kingdom-minded police officer who just wants to do the right thing. And thank you for saying things that you could potentially have to have a conversation later. And I know what that conversation could be. I really do. More than anybody up here, probably. So for what it's worth, man, I'm proud of you and thank you. So with that said, in your community, what are things you believe should change in order to not perpetuate? I don't want to get pulled. I'm black. I don't want to get pulled over because I don't want to get killed. Like, that's, you and I both know that's not cool. So go.
Yeah, Pastor kind of touched on it a little bit. One thing that I feel like needs to change is in law enforcement, we tend to have a us versus them mentality. And when I say us versus them, it's not us versus black people, it's us versus everybody else. Because a lot of times we don't feel as if we have the support of the community. And so in essence, we feel like, well, we're all in this together. All we've got is each other. And so it becomes difficult to make relationships outside of law enforcement, and that can translate into our job and what we do. And so I believe that in order to help that, we've got to be willing to step outside of just our own community and create relationships with other people and be willing to stand on those relationships, because it shouldn't be us versus them, it should be right versus wrong. And so we have to get out of this mindset of, okay, it's us versus them. Okay, well, what's right and what's wrong? Like, is what your brother over there is doing is wrong? Well, tell him to stop. Get him off of him. Just to say something. You know, the Bible says that our battles aren't against flesh and blood. It's against the evil authorities and of the unseen world. And so our battle isn't with each other. Our battle is with sin. We have a sin problem, not a skin problem.
Yeah, it's 12:16. So here's the deal. Thank you so much for coming. We solved the racial issue today. So glad you came because we're so intelligent. It's awesome. No, there's a million questions that are going through my brain that I would love to ask and have the dialogue. And who knows, just keep this in my brain. We may all get on social media at some point and continue this conversation, because I'm enjoying it so much, and it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's just, inside the church, we have a time frame. Your kids are across the hall. Everybody's hungry, all of those things. But what I wanted, under the direction of Holy Spirit, I truly believe, is like start the conversation. Like just stand on the platform, get some dudes that we do life in this house together, and okay, this is how I feel, this is how I see it. And show how to have a conversation without being offended. Like, I had this conversation yesterday off camera, no hashtagging, no nothing, to really just, okay, where are we all at? How can we get some understanding? And so I want you to do the same. I want you to do life with people that are different than you. I do think it's easy to just click up, hey, we're just alike, so we're gonna, and I understand that, but at some point, with the issues in the world, you got to get outside of yourself and have a conversation, which is why the church is so important. Small groups are so important. Just make sure that everybody in your small group doesn't wear a cowboy hat. Like, get outside of a little bit. Get outside somehow and create some diversity inside the way that you do life, because it is beautiful. And then the other thing I want to do is, like, help us understand the power of the church, like the real church, the church that is under the banner of Jesus Christ. This is a make it or break it kind of deal. Where is this? Tony Evans posted this, and this is true. This is a defining moment for us as churches and citizens to decide whether we want to be one nation under God or a divided nation apart from God. If we don't answer that question right, and if we don't answer it quickly, we won't be much of a nation at all. That's really what we have to answer. I don't think you're going to kill racism outside the walls of a church. I really don't. I think the world is broken, which is why I think the answer is Jesus. He really is. He's the only thing I found in my life that transformed me, that these guys would say transformed them. Because if you get in racism with imposing more rules on people, we'd have killed it 50 years ago. Like, if the law, keeping the rules, could fix us, he'd have never sent Jesus in the first place. Like, there's a reason why the answer is Jesus. And the secondary answer is the church. The church should be the place that people come and go, man, this is dope. We're all here, and we're different colors, shades, and we got all this stuff going on, and I don't necessarily agree with you, and I don't necessarily agree with you, but what we do agree on is Jesus is the answer, and we're going to come in here and have a good time, and it's going to be amazing, and people are going to feel the love in this house. So 12:16, I'm going to close by reading a verse of Scripture, but I'm going to let these guys go get some water. Would you give them a round of applause for being with us today? Romans 12, verses 9 through, come on, technology. Verses 9 through 21. So we started out with the problem. In the middle, we had a conversation about the truths that simultaneously exist and how people feel. And now I want to land on the answer as far as Scripture says. So, chapter 12, verse 9 in Romans. You can go look this up if you want to. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless, do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the sight of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God to do that. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. So on the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will a heap of burning coals on their head. Verse 21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with doing good. Truth is, Jesus is the answer. The church is a supporter of Jesus' message, and I cannot speak to every church on the planet, but I can speak to this house because I'm the shepherd of this house. As far as this house is concerned, we will serve the Lord. We will create an environment where anybody can come, and where there is injustice and wrong and evil, we will be a voice that speaks to it. Not every single time, but if it's large enough and it deserves a voice, I truly believe if a voice is needed and you pick silence, then by default you're agreeing with it. And as the shepherd of this house, a perpetuator of the good news of Jesus, I couldn't just blow by everything that's happened in the earth and not say something to it, but I'm emotionally intelligent enough as a leader to go, I need some help on this one, guys. This is a very complex conversation. So we're going to do the best that we can to create a church where everybody's welcome. A lot of people say, we're going to create a multicultural church. That's not our goal. Let me tell you why. We're going to create a kingdom culture church where everybody, race, background, doesn't matter, can come and experience the love of God. I think that's the answer. And I think if something's going down and it's wrong and you're there, you need to speak to it. Because this is way bigger than just black and white. The truth is, we look at, as a society, we look at Hispanics and we judge them. Now listen, guys, let me challenge you. If you lived in a country where drug lords ran it and your family was starving, would you jump the border to get a job? But yet we sit back and we go, oh, you need to go through the legal thing, and I can't believe you're taking my job and you're taking that job. Nobody took your job. We got to stop judging people and understand where they're coming from. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'd jump a border all day long if Benet and my kids were starving and I could get a job and send money back. And we don't really understand what the people who have done that, how much danger they put themselves in, how much danger they put their families in just to try to do better. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a way to be legalized and all those things. What I'm saying is that as the church, okay, that's fine, but let's not judge people. Let's not belittle people. Let's be for people who are created in the image of God. It doesn't matter if they're Asian. Like, Asian people went through some of the most terrible discrimination because of the COVID virus, like they had something to do with it. That's the most asinine thing I could ever see in the world. Like, we stopped going to Chinese restaurants because of the COVID-19 thing. That's just as wrong as anything else as you see. We as Christ followers have to be the answer. And you should have been appalled by the 8 minutes of someone's knee on another human's neck. It doesn't have anything to do with the guy's white and the guy was black. No. A human would treat a human that way. That's not right. And we need to stand for what's right. And we're going to do that the best we can. So as your pastor, or if you're a first-time guest, you're logging, checking us out, thank you for giving us the opportunity to have what I believe is at least some semblance of a real conversation. This is the last time you had a white privilege conversation with a black guy. You need to have it so that you can understand it at least a little bit, so that we can move in unity. Just so you know, I don't believe in equality. I think that's another goal you can't really get to. What do I mean by that? I think you need to push for unity. Like, I really do. You need to push for unity. Do I want everything to be equal? Yes, I'm not saying that. No. If we're unified, then equality happens. But we can push for equality and not be unified. And that becomes the issue. So I want both and, but you got to push for unity. That's the goal, so you can have equality. And we can be unified on Jesus. We can be unified on a lot of things. But just know this, church, I love you. Thank you for trusting me. Man, thank you to those guys for trusting me. That takes a lot of courage. I know that. So I love those guys dearly. Thank you. If you do send them any messages, tell them how proud you are of them. Love on them a little bit, because that took a lot. So we're going to keep preaching Jesus as a church. We're going to keep going after people who are hurt and abandoned and lost and not understanding. And that means it won't always be for everybody, but I do think it's a place for everybody. So I love you, church. I'm going to bless you, but as we'll come and close out the service, thank you so much for being with me today and being in this place. I love you. God, I love y'all so much. God, thank you for blessing us today. Father, I pray with everything in me that Jesus was glorified, the church was elevated, and the kingdom can be understood as the answer. Father, I pray that people saw unity and love for one another, even in places that were different. God, I know we didn't bring a cure, but I hope we brought to begin a conversation to get us to a place where we can love one another as you have loved us. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for being in here. Let the conversation continue. In Jesus' name, amen.